Okay, I think this is as good as we're gonna get, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. She's being.
She's on.
Yeah, I
Can't even
can.
remember.
I can't remember.
Usually I don't like do.
Michael's here.
Yeah, she's on.
Jean, Gina.
Yeah.
She's on the, yeah. But she's on.
That's not the only. Obviously, there are other buildings like that.
Everybody here, so.
That was right.
Do about it. Or
Oh, he's
make a
like-
list of all the building points that.
We are,
Well, that the building department.
we're recording, right?
I mean,
Yeah.
the.
Okay. Okay, gentlemen, if I can have your attention here when I am going to call this meeting to order at 6:41. It is the February meeting. I gotta make sure I get our title right now. Community Development and Housing Committee. Welcome. Let's see, we have not a big agenda tonight, but we have several things on it, so we will get rolling here. I don't know if you want to make a presentation here or just introduce Jenna.
Yeah. So I invited Jenna Goldstein from For the Many. She's a tenant organizer that has been working very, very closely with a lot of the ETPA tenants. Most recently in Ward 9 with Chestnut Mansion. As everyone's aware, there's been a lot of things in the news. And she's been really diligent in working and filing all of the complaint forms and with HCR. So I'm excited to see that For the Many is offering a tenant hotline so that they can expand services even to all tenants within the city of Kingston. So I wanted her to come and speak, and she's here, so.
Jenna, you want to come up here? Wherever you're comfortable. We can turn around.
Also, it's all my.
Come on.
Hi, everybody. Okay.
So you're gonna have to speak up so that the.
Yes, I will.
Okay.
I just got over the flu. I am not contagious, just want everyone to know, so I might be a little raspy, etc. I've been told I sound like shit. I'm like, thank you. So anyway, hi everyone, thank you for having me.
And we're live and you streaming, live streaming, so.
Great.
Okay.
Oh my God. All three is up.
Okay, noted, language, got it, thank you.
I mean, that's up to you, we have no rules.
Yeah, I don't work for the city, whatever. So you all know who I am, I'm with Heart and Something Inside, whatever. I'm here to talk about the tenant hotline that I started. I have some flyers here, if you like to them, if you want to post them, it'd be really helpful. Important to note here is that it's a hotline for all Mid-Hudson Valley people to call for any issues they have about tenants, landlords, rights, etc. Whatever they want, we have an intake form there. You can call the phone number any time of day. It's a voicemail, they do a voicemail, they do English and Spanish. The QR code on there also links to a form you can fill out, and the bit.ly code is there for the same form as well. It's all the same intake, go to the same place. It's staffed by volunteers, everything's reviewed by me, so the volunteers ask me to the person, they have access to tenants. It's really helpful to have someone that's not like, my volunteers that get empathy, they're like, I'm so sorry to hear that, like, how are you? It's not DSS, it's not no, it's not, it's people that are actually like volunteering their time, it's 2 hours a day, it's really manageable. Yeah, really proud of it so far. We've gotten calls from Columbia Green to Orange Sullivan, everywhere in between. Yeah. Oh, what we don't do, we don't offer legal advice. This is not what we do, what we don't do. We're not lawyers, but I have everyone there knows the tenant law pretty well. They all ask me any questions. I know it pretty well too. We're just here to offer support and offer help. Like people are like, I have bed bugs, what do I do? Do I have to do it? And I'm like, no, you don't do it. And I tell them who's responsible for doing it. And it's just a way to have like correct information that's come out from Google or it's a real person, so it has more authenticity, more relationality with it.
And when a tenant needs actual legal advice, do you then give them a number to call?
Yes. Yeah. Well, for Kingston, we have that great expansion of right to counsel. So all the different people go to Engage Kingston and they go to the LSHU there. We do have the phone number for all legal aid services in all the counties. Also have a free mediation service for all the counties as well as like short justice. So it's not to all of like lawyers and things like that. I want to get the root of the issues and feel like what their actual services are and how they could actually work to rectify it in the long term, way, not just the short term way.
Did you say how long this program has been going on?
Just a couple of weeks.
Just a couple of weeks
Yeah.
already, and how many, like, calls have you been seeing, so like on a regular, like on a daily basis or weekly or what, just up to
Not yet.
Nobody knows about it yet.
It's like 20 calls so far, but you know,
Okay.
like, those were all coming to me before, and I was getting burnt out because I had another job to do, and holding those, I want to cook, I want to be there for, I want to little talks with their problems like that. But I can't do it because I have a whole other job to do, so these great volunteers are able to say like, okay, what's going on, tell me what's going on, all right, what, I can try this, and then I'm gonna give my volunteers the answer. And I just tell them answer, I don't have to be like, I was the background, say the background from the notes they took.
Mhm.
It's just more effective and efficient way to manage relationship. essentially.
Is there a time? Is it 24/7
Yeah,
or?
it's not live because that wouldn't work, so it's a voicemail box, and or you can fill out the form and the QR code there. And someone gets back to you within 7 business days.
Is there a website that you can, that is linked to this that we can just say out loud now for anyone listening, or?
It's the Bitly.
Bitly, okay.
That's just how it, yeah.
Okay.
It lives on our For the Menu website, but it's a long.
Okay,
So shorten it to that.
okay, but it could be found on For the Many's website. Okay, great. And are you looking for more volunteers? And
Always.
how do they reach out?
Email me,
Okay,
Jenna@forthemenu.org.
okay.
Yeah, or they can go through the hotline and say, I want to volunteer. And I'll get there.
Okay,
And
great.
how are you outreaching other than on your website? Were you putting flyers? and
I'm
how do you
putting
get-
flyers up. I was recently sick though, so I wasn't able to do that as effectively as I want to. But I'm giving to you guys, I'm giving to anyone that wants one, I'm putting anyone, community centers, YMCA, family service building, stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's really.
yeah.
And now, when you get a call, do you have a specific turnaround time you want to get back to them?
7 business days.
Yeah.
Yeah. We get back to all within less than that, but I want to give everyone the cushion to say, and the voicemail says this is not emergency, the emergency, hang up, call 911, this is
Okay.
7 days or nothing, yeah. This is not for being fixed tomorrow, of course we can't help you, so.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, it's not emergency based, but if somebody's having an issue in their apartment and I mean, presumably they go first to the manager of their complex, right? But we know, presumably, right. And if that doesn't work and it is an emergency, are there other places that they can go?
Do you have that on your voicemail? If this is an
Well,
emergency, call 911?
Yes, that's. the
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
this is an emergency,
Okay.
sell gas, if you have heat, call 911, this is
Perfect,
not an
okay.
emergency hotline, yeah, and it's in English and
Okay.
Spanish as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, you have a pretty small sample size so far, but what is like the nature of those comments or those issues? Is it bed bugs mostly? Is it my landlord's increasing the rent? Is it?
It's landlords increasing rent, I'm getting evicted, there's something mold, like warm habitability issues, which I'm happy to tell them the rights on, and how to resurrect those. Yeah, it really runs the gamut,
Okay, thank you.
yeah.
Great.
How are the volunteers, is there training or do
Yes,
they?
several trainings. We have check-ins. I'm available volunteers every time they're on a shift, I'm always on the shift with them, so I can answer any questions they have. They're also paired up, so they're never alone doing, someone else, on the Zoom with them, so you'll say like, oh, okay, like, it's really important not to get burned out on this work, because it is a high burnout work. So, I prepare them a lot of resiliency practices and encourage them to reach out to us after monthly check-ins, everybody, and we had about 6 trainings before we program. Which going forward, now I know how to do it, it's not gonna be as long, now I have 1 training to get up and I know people actually need to know. But this kind of came out of the thing of like, my phone number was ringing for all these tenants being like, having really their issues, and I was here on my own, and I couldn't do my other work, and I was getting really drained emotionally about it, so I was getting really invested as I do. So, what it is, I created this hotline, so I could, we need to disperse it a little bit. Thank you.
Did you pattern this after, someone else you heard from? And if
Yes.
so, how is that working? Have they been in business for a while?
Yes, I have a volunteer on my staff that worked with KC Tenants Union in Kansas City, Missouri, which is a really robust citywide tenant union. It's a really successful, really large city, though. It's not comparable what we do here at all. But he worked there previously, so he helped me like pattern the intake calls, etc. So they get like thousands of calls and they don't have ETPA, so they have like different, and they have different legal services down there. But also, Albany, UTA, United States Albany, and also Pennsylvania, they have some similar there as well. So, yeah, and, Newburgh off UTA in December, if you all know that, but, so I sent a letter to 400 Newburgh residents, and I put that on, and I said, these are your new rights, because the owners of Newburgh are giving me such odd that's ridiculous. So I put the town hall in there, so if you look, reach us there, we're hoping that'll be a good place to funnel more change out as well. Feeling the power, make it good, there's a lot of power.
No, if you put, I know you said you've been sick and
Yeah.
haven't been able to flyer as much, but the apartments in the city of Kingston, have you managed to get flyers there? Or is
I
it-
have not,
So if you have more flyers, I mean, maybe that's something that the council could
Would
help.
you be able to share us with the PDF of this?
happily,
Yes.
who did I send it to?
You could send it, if you send it to common council at
Thank you.
kingston-ny.gov, it goes to me and I can get it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great, thank you, I'll send it to you as soon as you.
So is there anything else that we might do that would help further this, other than like promoting is really what you need right now, it's just letting people know that it's there and available. Okay.
Yes, just tell people to call us. The
Mhm.
more calls, the more practice we have, better, it's better sample size, as you pointed out earlier. So, yeah, tell people to call us, any issue under the sun. If we can't deal with it, we'll know how to advise them to talk to. I have a 26-page document of other
Wow.
things, so it's just. It's a pretty good document, it's accessible, not to brag, but it's pretty good. So, yeah. So, yeah,
Okay,
Right.
well, this sounds like a wonderful service.
thank you. I really think it's helped a lot of people.
Thanks,
really
Anna.
need it.
Appreciate
Yeah.
you being here.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
You feel better?
Oh, thank you. I'm feeling a lot better, but you know, it's a journey.
That's right, yeah.
All right, thank you, everybody.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Have a good night.
Bartek, you can warm up. I'm gonna take 2 minutes. I gotta run and get my sweatshirt. I'm freezing.
Yeah, it's cold in here, yeah.
It was really hot in the other room. It's
I know.
freezing in here.
Hey, Lisa, could you give me sharing privileges?
Absolutely.
It's cold, so I always wear sweaters, but you don't find, you put on more clothes. You can take off clothes, but you can't put them on. It just.
Did you see that Chestnut Mansion is a new property manager?
Yeah, same for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which, I mean, they fire them every 6 months once they start enforcing ATVA.
How are the issues there?
It's a lot better. They have their new furnace as of last Friday, and they were able to move back in. So in about a week.
Wow. And how is it the new furnace working? I mean, are they
So
having-
far.
So far.
Yeah, so. It's quite the ordeal.
Yeah, I can imagine, because it was cold.
Yeah, those first few nights.
Oh.
It was like the coldest nights. And like the same thing happened in January, the coldest nights, like people didn't.
Yeah.
There's always,
Right, yeah, well, that's when they break.
Yeah.
We mentioned it, or you, Randy, and myself all talked about it in that community, but are you putting that communication?
Yeah, I will. I'm gonna, you got that too? The mayor got it, and then, yeah, so I was gonna just run it by Barbara. Okay,
Cool.
Yeah,
I think
for
this is
paying
sick.
for hotels and things like that.
I really thought this was already the law, when I passed, maybe it was specific to the village. And also, we had to give people hotels. We always loved it.
That's nice.
It's
I would still
probably as
call it
community
the
by
bare- I would
community.
still call it the bare minimum.
Yeah.
Not
Okay.
nice.
I recognize that place. Right across the street, right?
Across the street.
What, that's across the street from you?
No,
Oh,
behind.
from us.
Across the street from your.
Oh, here, oh, yeah. I know, it's like, what? Oh, yeah. The buildings look brighter than they, probably because it's been so gray out. Everything looks gray, they don't look quite as.
All right, so
Right.
tonight, we're gonna hear Bartek's 6-month update. A historic occasion, your first one, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
So,
I believe it's been 6 months.
It has. So when the council passed the zoning code in August, one of the stipulations was that 6-month update be provided. So here I am fulfilling the duty. There was so much in the new code. There are these big ideas, right? And then it led to all of these changes compared to our old zoning code, which really it cannot be emphasized enough how much of a change this was in terms of how the city regulates its land pattern, its development patterns, and its land. So much new stuff, so many new processes internally that had to be established, and kind of catch up and understanding. So I'm not going to go through all these changes. I think most of you already know this, but just want to acknowledge that. Since the new code has been passed, we've continued to maintain and also put new resources on the engagekingston.com/KingstonForward page on the Engage Kingston site. That's where everything is located within the new about the new code. There's a lot of like one-pagers, resources, Q&As. We stuff this with as much information as possible and continue to maintain it. We did send out a postcard also citywide, letting people know that the new zoning code was in effect. And we had different variations of the postcard that was sent out, and encourage people to learn more.
Did you send that in just English or his manager's?
So it's, this is just in English. We do have the Engage Kingston page is in English, Spanish. So we had a note that's, it's available in Spanish. We tried to see whether it would be possible to do like English, Spanish, like half English, half Spanish. It was one postcard. It was just a little bit challenging with this one. In January of 2024, we set a goal to approve 1,000 new housing units under the new code by 2029. I do want to say that separate from that goal, we did approve 90 housing units last year under the new code, which was great.
So just in that 6-month window or less than 6?
Yeah, less than 6 months. And based on some of the projects that are now coming together throughout the city, I'm very optimistic that we're going to meet that 1,000 homes goal by 2029 and possibly well before that. And what's especially interesting is that there are obviously larger projects that are coming together because of the new code, but there are also smaller projects throughout the entire city. So these are the accessory dwelling units, but also single-family homes, duplexes, triplexes, fourplexes. These are the smaller projects that the new code really unlocks and that are the sweet spot in terms of what's different. And so those projects are coming together. For instance, just this morning, we met with someone looking to develop new housing downtown. And just to give you an idea of the timing, they've been working on this project together for 1.5 years, right? So they started working on putting everything together well before we actually adopted the code. So it takes a long time even for the smaller projects to come together to a point where they are brought to the city's attention. But still, there's a lot of those types of projects throughout the city, which is really nice. And we do, just so you know, we do have this tracker.
I saw that. Where can it be found? Is it on the website?
So it's on the Engage Kingston page.
Okay.
Also on the housing page, City of Kingston's housing page is the link to this Google sheet. So this is where we are going to track our progress toward the 1,000 homes. This lists everything that we've approved so far this year. As you can see, we've approved 9 units so far this year. And then, as we go forward, I'm planning on putting in more detail around here, like were there affordable units included in the approval? Was this next year? So that detail will come as some of those projects are approved. but just so you know that this lives online and is fully available for tracking Texaco. Yes.
So the properties where it says one unit approved, so is that like something where somebody may have had a single family home and then they subdivided it and added, okay.
That's right. So all of these are additional units on
Okay.
additional properties. For instance, let's take the example of 55 O'Neill Street. That was formerly in a manufacturing zone, and so that individual could not put residential there. And, within a few days of the new code passing, like he couldn't build the permits because he wanted to put in the work units. And so the new code allowed that. So, you see these examples, you're gonna start seeing a lot of these examples where like it just wasn't viable before, now it's possible. 259 Washington, I think, is our first official ADU.
Oh, great.
Yeah, that's our first one, officially.
So that means it's built and being used or just approved?
It's been approved, in this case, the building permit was issued. Yeah.
How is that, I don't know if I'm jumping ahead a little bit, how is the ADU progress going? Are you seeing lots of interest? Is it?
Yeah, so we had the ADU +1 grant program, which gave low to moderate income residents the opportunity to build an accessory dwelling unit by providing $125,000 grant funds. So that we did receive over 30 applications from the city of Kingston, from the city, and so I think that speaks to the demand. It's the difficulty is always going to be it's expensive, and for an individual homeowner to afford that, it's a process, right? You maybe have the cash, maybe you don't. You might need to put some kind of like a HELOC on your original property to be able to afford the accessory dwelling unit. So it's a process, you need to work with the design professional plans. So it's complicated, but I anticipate a lot of things coming. And there are all sorts of interesting cases. For instance, someone in the city is buying a duplex, and there's a garage in the back, in the rear, and as part of her closing, she's actually able to get a loan to rehab that garage into a housing unit.
Wow.
Right, but those kind of stuff, it's
Right.
complicated, it takes a long time
Right,
to happen. But there's definitely interest.
So what is the total number of ADUs that can be supported through the grant program, or?
So the original one, we gave out 4 awards. And again, there was a lot more.
Well, I was gonna say, the 30 applications, you were able to give out
It
4.
was very competitive.
Is this a different grant than the one that the county's offering, or is
It's the
this the
county.
same thing?
It's the same one, so we applied, the city did with the county of Rockco, so joint application.
Aren't they gonna open up, you said,
Round
thought
two,
I
right?
said, they said there'll be more?
Yeah, so you guys are
Great,
just
I'm
rolling.
sorry.
So we did apply, we did put in an application this month for
Great.
another round.
Excellent.
And this time around, we're hoping to be able to give out more awards.
Round two's a lot more money, right?
Yes, on the money, and it's also, so looking around statewide, Kingston, and also the county in many ways is way ahead of the rest of the state in terms of accessory dwelling units, and so the state is really interested in Kingston specifically, and because of the new code, we're just well positioned to get that.
Great.
And these 1,000 units, that's not going to be 1,000 ADU, that's 1,000
No.
of anything?
I mean, it could be 1,000, but if also,
Will your tracker on Engage Kingston, right, this will be a public tracker?
it is public.
So will that be able to stipulate sort of what the breakdown of those 1,000 units are, ADUs, market rate housing, regular?
Right, yeah,
apartment units?
I think I'll put in more detail as we have more approvals. To be TBD, but I'll probably add more details as we go forward.
Yeah, it would be great if on a larger, say, a full building, what then the percentage of
Sure.
affordable workforce is. That'd be great, yeah.
Just out of curiosity, Bartek, where'd you come up with 1,000 number?
Believe it or not, it was actually somewhat scientific, because we looked at the Kingston's rate of growth historically, like over the past decade, and how many units we've approved. Bad, which we know. But I also looked at statewide, you know, which municipalities are doing really well in terms of their percentage of housing unit growth. And, you know, there's really only a few that are growing in any meaningful way. That includes like places like New Rochelle down in Westchester. And so the 1,000 units as a percentage of our total number of units that we have right now, the percentage growth is we think it's attainable. It's about, you know, 3% growth rate annually, and we think that's attainable by looking at some of our peers.
It seems pretty ambitious, but good luck.
Yes. Good luck to all of us. Yeah.
And I'm curious, what are some of the other cities in addition to New Rochelle?
I have a whole spreadsheet and I can
Oh, wow.
send it to you.
Oh, that'd be interesting.
Yeah.
Send it to our committee.
Yeah,
People are interested.
send it to the whole committee, yeah.
And are you finding that, based on the new code, that 6 months into it, are you finding that people are generally excited by the new code?
Yes. It really just opens the door. You know, I think it doesn't remove some of the other barriers that I mentioned, like the financing piece, the financial resources.
Right.
It doesn't remove the building code requirements, which sometimes can be difficult and onerous.
Mhm.
You know, for instance, if you're, just to give an example, for you to open like a corner business, neighborhood business, which is now allowed in the code, because you're going to be doing a change of use, most likely, you know, that space is going to have to be totally ADA accessible, right? There's certain building code requirements that come into play when you're converting from a residential to commercial business.
Mhm.
And so that's outside of our zoning code, it's not possible, but there's still building code requirements that are just challenging.
Have you had, go ahead.
We've had some attempts.
Okay.
For the corner store, there's interest?
There's interest, I will say, the code requirements have been difficult. In those cases that have come up so far. Interesting.
So
Except
that's
we
something we
have
can
this.
look at with the task force.
Yeah.
Well, that's New York State building code.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
it's,
Yeah.
The retrofit of.
yeah, it's,
Okay.
100
it
year
is,
building.
yeah, it's just a challenge.
Okay.
Let's open this topic up, because I think when this whole thing started, there was such apprehension because it was new. And God forbid we do something new, I think everybody was literally expecting to knock on their door, saying, what are you doing in there?
Right.
You know, you better comply with everything. So that really seems to, I don't hear people talking about it, I think because there hasn't been anybody knocking at your door saying you gotta do this and you gotta do that. But I think that was a fear.
I think any change, right, again, because it takes a long time for projects to come together, it's going to be gradual. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, we were just talking about the new historic districts in the city, and people are so apprehensive. I've heard a lot of apprehension because, what's it gonna do? Is it gonna make my taxes go up? Do I have to repaint my house a certain color? You know, everybody's they get riled up, you know, and, you know, most things are not as big a deal as they're imagining. And I think this too will calm down, you know, the same as this, you know, so.
Yeah, I only hear positive things, and I hear it outside of the city of Kingston too, because obviously I live in Albany quite a bit. And actually, this is kind of cool. I was actually approached to write about the city of Kingston going into form-based code in a national zoning newsletter. So just kind of our experience of doing it. It's for lawyers and law professors, but you know, people are talking about what we're doing outside of this and following what we're doing.
That's great.
Hopefully people will follow our lead.
Yes,
So,
that's right, yes.
So where are we at with, licenses for full-time, short-term
That's
rentals.
my last slide. Can I get to that? All right, so
I'm really setting you up
Okay.
here.
we talked about accessory dwelling units, how we already awarded for the grant program, and how we submitted another application. I just want to briefly go over some logistical items internally. There are now bi-weekly meetings between housing, building safety, and planning, where we discuss development applications and also review any zoning code issues. And I think it's nice. This is new, right? This kind of interdepartmental coordination. I think it's very important, and we'll continue. And I have requested to the council that the council make appointments to the zoning code working group.
And I just wanted to be transparent, I asked Bartek to have if we do it at us to do it at caucus, just to make sure that all of us are there and all the voices instead of this committee. So I just wanted to
Yeah.
explain my decision for
And is
that.
that something that we go into executive session?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, but I wanted as many council members to participate.
So regarding the working group, I was wondering if you have the role set out already? I see the application, but
Yes.
like the mission statement and that can be shared with us. And then
Yeah.
if this is a working group, is that a public meeting or is this an advisory body that will just, meet on Zoom with you?
Well, the mission was set out in the resolution to pass the zoning code. That was one of the stipulations, yes, by the council, that there be a working group set up to kind of watch the progress of the zoning code. And I think perhaps more importantly, to suggest any amendments and changes. I think one of the things that the city failed in the old zoning code is that we didn't keep up with it, right? We waited a long time to make amendments, and when amendments were made, they arguably weren't very thought out in terms of how they fit into the larger picture. And so this working group would watch the progress of the code, and then also we would discuss any potential amendments that we would then submit to the council for consideration. So the working group would be working closely with staff, and especially myself and Sukeho, on just potential recommendations and potential changes.
And do you envision this to be a monthly meeting or a quarterly meeting? And are they going to issue an annual report?
Probably quarterly, more quarterly. And then I think, in terms of the report, it would feed up to the council in terms of any potential recommendations.
So you view this as more of like a quarterly trickle to us about minor changes rather than like a once a year? Here's 15 changes that need to be made.
Well, we would certainly group any potential changes right into one presentation to the council. I wouldn't want to trickle little amendments here and there every month. So, after a period of time when we're working and we feel good about any potential amendments, then we can feed it up to the common council.
Kind of to piggyback on that, can you remind me, one of the stipulations was, of course, while you're here, the 6 months tracking, we have to continue these, right? Was that in the resolution?
Yes,
Then yearly?
yes, and then annually thereafter.
Oh, that's what I thought. So that would be, a good, I'm sure the zoning work group would also be part of that too.
Exactly.
Okay.
Could you share that resolution with the whole council, since we have so many, and then they can see the language and where it came from? Thank you.
So in terms of thinking of people, what would be the process? In other words, what is this group, going back to what Michael said, what do you see as the role of the people who are on this council?
Yeah, I mean, it would be a little focus group for us, right?
Okay.
I mean, I think when, if we were to let, for instance, suggest a much larger amendment to the zoning code, there would need to be a public review process and public meetings and public outreach, of course. However, it would be great to also have a working group where we can discuss potential issues, potential solutions. And, it's great for that discussion to not just happen within City Hall, but to be discussing with subject matter experts or just like local citizens when we talk about potential changes.
And I think you have a pretty diverse pool of applicants here, of both commercial and
Which
residential use.
you keep saying things like a piggyback right on. Make sure that you read those before caucus, and I'll send out a reminder to council members, because we don't want to be, you want to be prepared for how many applicants were there.
At least 12.
Yeah, so that's a lot of
Yeah.
applications to read, and we want to be able to have good
Yeah.
conversations and not read the applications
For the first time.
for the first time,
Right.
yeah.
And,
Thank
yeah, and, yep,
No,
okay.
I should say, are you looking for more applications, or once I look at the applicants?
It's closed. The
Oh, it's closed
application-
already,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's closed, and we have enough to choose from.
Okay.
And now, sorry, to
No, go ahead.
so if this is a working group that will continue for ever in perpetuity, do we need to stipulate that these are annual appointments or are these cardinals that we?
I think it would, I think it would be an appointment is for as long as this individual seeks to serve. Well, we wouldn't want them to be on. I don't know. Yeah.
I think maybe if we put a yearly limit on that, I think
Sure.
that's, or actually maybe
If it's
2 years,
if
if they're only meeting every year.
If they could,
Yeah, or they could just, it could be renewed at the end of the year, but
I mean,
that also is reassuring to people who might, to some of these people.
Because some of our,
it's not forever.
some of the
Yeah.
perspectives and the needs of the zoning code may change, that they may not be the experts. in.
Right, well, there you go.
Yeah. Kind of your bylaws of
Yeah.
the working group. I like that idea, we're gonna figure out how to make that happen.
Yeah,
Good.
and there'll be
Yeah.
bylaws.
Well, I'm not sure,
Oh,
I mean, I was like, should we do
Yeah.
this as a council resolution, because we formed the
It
group,
could
but
be a
without.
resolution that stipulates.
Yeah.
It might be the easier way to do a council resolution, and this is what the task force.
Mhm.
Maybe when we actually appoint people, we could do it that way.
Okay, so, and you would lean towards some sort of term limit, so to speak,
So let's do
or
this.
renewal.
I don't like the idea of people serving forever.
No,
Let's do.
because you want other
so-
people to have the opportunity.
We don't technically need a vote on who we're, like, this doesn't have to go through a council resolution. But why don't we, at caucus, what is it, 4 members we're seeking out of the 12?
4 out of 12.
So we
Okay.
pick those, and then I'll have it set so this committee can then come up with a more official, not bylaws, but a more official duty and
Mhm.
any kind of restrictions that we want, so we can talk about it, but we'll have the
Mm-hmm.
4 members selected. And then it'll kind of overlap, does that work?
Sure.
Okay, so let me just write that down. So I'll send it,
Okay,
Right.
no, that's music into myself, so.
Okay.
I always like doing that, love me.
okay, this is.
And then if there's anything else, we'll have now a month to decide if there's anything besides term limits, so to
Perfect, yeah.
speak. Think about it and we could address that next month.
Okay.
And just one more note on the working group, I was telling Michelle before this, there are little things that we do want to change about the code. And I think, these are things that, there are certain things you can only learn by actually doing it, and there are just little things here and there that we're sort of ready to start looking at. And so there are things for this working group to do.
So in other words, the process would be, staff is finding that there are some issues going on, and that they would bring those to the working group.
Yep.
That would be discussed, and then if there were amendments that were
Exactly,
required, then those would be discussed and then brought to the council.
yes.
Okay.
And, looking at other peer cities that have done big zoning reforms, there are amendments submitted like every 1 to 2 years. And I think this iteration is a good thing. We should be all for it, so. All right, short-term rentals. So since the new zoning code was passed, our registrations have to be done online. Our compliance software is GovOS. GovOS tracks our registrations and also is our compliance software. So it's how we make sure that everyone is following the rules. So over 90% of listings in Kingston have been identified, meaning matched to an address. It's probably closer to 95%. And there's some level of enforcement action that the city's is taking against approximately 12 properties that have not registered.
Okay.
In terms of the registrations to date, there's 3 different permit types. There's the full, and that's the full is there's a cap of 106. We are at 103. The resident occupied, meaning you're renting out, in most cases, a room within your residence while you're home, there's 12. And limited, that's a permit that allows you to have a short-term rental for less than 30 days a year, that's at 11.
And we
These
don't
are
have
properties,
any,
right? Not number of Airbnbs, these are properties.
Same thing,
Okay,
yes, because only one short-term rental is allowed per property.
okay.
and there's no cap on the resident occupied or limited, so.
So we are almost at the cap, but we are not great.
Are we getting any complaints about any of them?
Yes, so there is a complaint form, let me just skip ahead. There is a complaint form, and this link is on my page, housing page. Where anyone can make an anonymous complaint basically about the property.
Okay.
And then someone
Mhm.
investigates it. Also, if anyone contacts, just calls me or calls the building department
Okay,
on the complaint, we will investigate. that.
great.
And you said the software was GovOS.
Right.
And that's been successful so far? Because
Yes.
that's a question that actually one of my classmates was asking. She's an advocate up in Albany area and trying to, model a lot of what we're
Yeah.
doing.
Yeah, so the most common software is Granicus. That's the one that these county uses. I know a lot of it's a little bit more common than GovOS. I was not that impressed in some of the demos. And in choosing GovOS, I spoke to Lake Placid area, which switched from Granicus to GovOS, and they just had a real positive experience with GovOS, and it's been consistent.
I saw the county is gonna start sharing their info with the municipalities more, so will we still get access to that info? Is that something you would check or?
I think I would still check against
Okay,
what we have, but probably it won't really.
nothing new,
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
And then they did say that we had 155 short-term rentals in the city. And that's roughly sounded exactly right.
Right,
to
yeah,
what
it
I
wasn't
have
broken down.
with the permits that we have, plus the properties that haven't properly registered and those that we haven't identified is around 50.
Okay,
And the enforcement is going.
Yeah, yes, the challenge is with the enforcement, and I'm working with council on this, is that you have to serve someone, and it is a process to get them to accept certified mail, and but it is. And we did have, for instance, there were 2 cases down this morning. For short-term rental.
But 3 of them could put in the permits.
Yeah, they're running out of time. Yes.
So get to it.
Yeah. But I think, the take-home message is that most people have registered and are compliant. And, the percentage of the non-compliance percentage is actually pretty small.
Do you know if the property owners are local or that'd be too hard to track?
They're mostly non-local.
Which makes it harder to search.
that's great. I remember people were, as soon as the code went into effect, were like reaching out to register, so that was
Yeah.
really positive.
So this is a map, just so this is so this shows 152 compliant, this is listings, not property. So sometimes one Airbnb that's registered has multiple listings.
Oh,
Like for instance, they'll be on Airbnb and Vrbo, and so that'll be counted twice. But this is a map of all of the registered, currently compliant short-term rentals within the city. You can see that they're concentrated uptown,
Right.
downtown. For the most part. And this is, I think, the final slide. So there is a, this is also on my housing page, but this is a list of all the registered short-term rentals. So if anyone wants to know, this is the address and the permit type. And this is kind of a quick and dirty way to do this, but GovOS is actually rolling out an interactive map. And so this kind of map will be public facing and will just be easier to use.
Nice.
Yes, and that's all I had. That's my 6 months.
That's great, it's a
That's
lot of
great.
work.
Yeah.
And very
Thanks
impressed
for
with
that.
all the available data, and thank you.
Yeah, we really appreciate you doing that.
I think, you know, it's really great.
Yeah,
So it's good.
and is that report that you just gave us on the website, or no, that's just your PowerPoint that you gave?
On the PowerPoint,
Yeah.
that's
It's
just,
nice.
yeah,
Well,
that's on YouTube forever.
Yeah.
I got it, there we go, yes,
You can watch it.
you're right.
Okay, well, Bartek
Thank you.
is not done yet.
No.
And I got a feeling he's gonna be the star of the show every month. So anyway, we are going to be talking about the appointment of a fair housing officer. That person being Bartek, I guess. So why don't you explain a little bit about that?
Yeah, so there was a request from our New York State CDBG funds, which funds our mental and mental health. One of the grant requirements is that we have a fair housing officer formally appointed by the county council. Most municipalities actually have a fair housing officer that's formally appointed. We have it. And, you know, I did not decide, but it was decided that it would probably makes sense for me to be the fair housing officer, just given my involvement in the right to council program. It just makes sense. So that's my.
And I think it's your bailiwick.
Yes, so that's my.
Would that interface with the Human Rights Office? Since those are some complaints that the Human Rights Office.
Tawana receives some housing complaints,
Okay.
which she, you know, deals with accordingly. In some cases, she is able to resolve those herself. In some cases, she refers them on
Okay.
to other individuals.
So how is this, so the role, I mean, what exactly is the role of your role as the fair housing officer?
Well,
Any idea what
there's,
that would be?
I think it's just more of a reflection of what I'm already doing.
Right.
It isn't any additional
No additional
responsibilities.
burden
Um,
Well, we'll see if we can come up with something.
it's,
Do you at least get to put FHO behind it?
definitely, yes, people will have to figure out what that is. You know, I think, I do receive a lot of fair housing questions, you know, similar to for the many hotline which we just learned about. You know, many
Right.
individuals just call the city directly as well, and so
Right.
those calls tend to either come through human rights or this.
Mhm.
So it's more of a reflection of what I'm already doing.
Good, I'm glad it's.
Yeah.
Not a whole other job,
No.
no. But now you get an official title that goes with the work that you're doing.
Yeah.
Yes,
Good.
And that big raise I heard.
yes.
All right.
Okay.
Okay. So listen, we have more history in the making here tonight. We will be adopting a resolution for this. So this will be our first resolution coming out of this committee. How about that, huh?
Yeah.
You guys are here. We'll have to give out the pens we use. The public that's waiting out here. All right, so, I think that was pretty self-explanatory. So the resolution reads as follows. A resolution of the Common Council of the City of Kingston appointing the Director of Housing Initiatives as the City of Kingston Fair Housing Officer. You know, it doesn't name Bartek, so I guess this is just for filling that position. Okay? Motion.
Second.
Okay. Okay, all in favor?
I,
Alright.
Is there anyone opposed besides Bartek? Okay,
His vote doesn't count.
carry.
Congratulations. Oh, wait, it has to go to the full council, yes.
does this
No,
require
no,
me to
no.
file any, annual reports now with, HUD regarding the specific, you know, number of fair housing complaints?
Right, yeah, that actual reporting, believe it or not, would happen via community development, and they're reporting to HUD for CDBG, for their CDBG funding. So
Okay.
yes,
Okay.
yes, it would-
Just a reminder, last month we talked about the idea of having guest speakers. Communications are due Friday the 11th, so if you do have anybody in mind, but we will have the land bank coming in March, so.
Coming here.
Yeah, to do their annual
Okay.
report to us, I thought it was appropriate to
Yeah.
start coming to this meeting.
Mhm.
Just a reminder to talk about it.
Oh, right.
I just want to give a public shout out to our building and safety department for all the work they put in on Chestnut Mansion and that week and a half of heating issues and gas issues. They like were really working on it constantly, so.
Now, this has been a while since I did. Jeannie's on here.
She's not,
Oh, she's not.
she's not,
Jeannie, you still there? No?
I don't think she was ever there.
Oh, I thought she was there.
No,
She
she's
was
not
at the other
Yeah, she's
meeting
on the other
What?
She was at the other meeting.
today.
one. Yeah, she
I
popped
thought-
in
I
at the
thought-
end of the so.
Yeah, she's
Oh,
not
yeah.
here tomorrow.
Yeah, we don't,
Yeah, yeah.
we don't need
Yeah, just
her.
leave that alone.
Yeah, she did not log in. I did not see her.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brother.
All right.
And in the past, what kind of guests and speakers have come in? I mean, what kinds of?
Well, it's a
Just-
brand new committee.
Oh, so there's no guests,
Jenna-
this is it.
Yeah, Jenna was our first speaker outside of Bartek, but
Okay, so we can think of people who might want to come in and talk about issues relating to community development and housing. Okay,
we will have somebody next month, so you don't need anybody, and, you know, just, since we talked about, that is one of the things that this committee could be doing. I
okay.
just want to remind everybody of the process of sending in communications.
Okay. If no one else has any other business, I will take a motion to adjourn. First and second, in favor?
Bye.
We are adjourned.
Thank you, Lisa.
Well,
Thank you.
Good night, Lisa, thank you.